Welcome to That's Good Sports. I'm Brandon. Thanks to everyone who taunted Woody Page on Twitter, I am no longer blocked by the king of Around the Horn, Perna. Although he reminded all of us that he has the right to block whoever he wants. That's fair, Woody, but you have to remember why you blocked an innovator in sports media like myself. That's my only request moving forward. Now, Woody Page will probably die before he retires, but today Luke Kuechly became the fourth near 30-year-old to retire from the NFL within the last calendar year. Like the Broncos believing Pat Shurmur is a massive upgrade at offensive coordinator, Kuechly's retirement came as a big surprise. We'll discuss that. I'll debut my rejected Play 60 audition tape. Play 60! Jason Garrett's interviewing with the Giants. Fitzgerald is not retiring in the latest Pro Football Hall of Fame snubs. Today on That's Good Sports. Now, I do have Big Dick Patreon shoutouts for Morgan, Fernie, Mandy, and Brandon Perineum, which is the rich, fancy way of saying Brandon Taint. $5 on Patreon does earn you the right to call me a taint. If you want to call me a taint, you can donate at patreon.com/thatsgoodsports. We will have the Patreon-only video, the video that is only available to my $5 patrons, up in the next 2 weeks, probably. That's when the next one's dropping. Former Cowboys head coach clapped his way into the New York Giants facility where he interviewed for their offensive coordinator position. Will Jason Garrett thrive just calling offensive plays? Maybe. There is talent on the Giants roster, and again, I think it's great for a first-time head coach to have a former head coach as a coordinator. That way, the new head coach can always see how much better his life would have remained if he were still a coordinator. Carolina Panthers linebacker Luke Kuechly announced his retirement last night on Twitter. He stated, after watching the Netflix Aaron Hernandez documentary, that I, quote, "want no fucking part of getting another concussion for as long as I live. If concussions make you want to have sex with dudes, not that there's anything wrong with that, that's not a path I want to go down." End quote. And to honor Luke, here is Kuechly getting the easiest interception of his career. Against Jameis Winston, of course. Since 2012, Luke Kuechly has more tackles with 1,092 than any other defender in the league. That's 19 more than Bobby Wagner and about 1,000 more than the Cardinals defense. Luke announced his retirement with a video via the Panthers Twitter account.
I think now is the right chance for me to move on. This decision has nothing to do with new coaches and Coach Rhule. He's going to do a fantastic job. His track record's proven, but there's only one way to play this game since I was a little kid is to play fast and play physical and play strong. And at this point, I don't know if I'm able to do that anymore. And that's the part that is the most difficult. Is I still want to play, but I don't think it's the right decision.
Since 2012, Kuechly has dominated the linebacker position with 18 interceptions, most among linebackers, 7 Pro Bowls, which ties him at number 1, 7 All-Pros, 5 First-Team All-Pros, also tied first, Defensive Rookie of the Year, Defensive Player of the Year, and number 1 in having a last name spelled nothing like it sounds. This shit is Kuechly? Looks more like Kuechly to me. Personally, I think Kuechly should have asked to be traded to the Detroit Lions and then retired, following in the footsteps of Barry Sanders and Calvin Johnson as NFL legends retiring early. It used to be rare that great football players retired early, but that is no longer the case. Gronk retired at 29, Doug Baldwin at 30, and of course Andrew Luck at 29. All of those men realized that if they kept playing, their bodies would become permanent houses of pain, where there would be absolutely no jumping around. once they eventually retired, and that they probably would struggle to feel well on a daily basis until they died, because even money can't buy some things. Kuechly was $63 million in career earnings while living in Carolina, where you can purchase a house for the price of 1,000 Marshawn Lynch chickens, will be just fine in early retirement. Gronk had back issues. Andrew Luck had his organs lacerated by the Broncos, a shoulder injury that sidelined him for a full season, and Doug Baldwin in 2018 suffered significant injuries to pretty much every part of his body. Luke Kuechly has a history of concussions, 3 documented while playing in the NFL, and the famous one that occurred against the Saints where he cried. Ha 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 ha, let's make fun of Luke for not knowing who he was and having everything he knew about the world briefly taken away from him. Ha 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 ha. The internet made fun of him for that when it happened, especially when they found out he didn't suffer a season-ending injury and that it was just a concussion, which we now know is a bunch of bullshit. So I applaud the decision Kuechly made to protect his health moving forward and pray that once he gets bored in retirement, he discovers a need to invest in That's Good Sports. Something only a man who has suffered multiple concussions would even consider. Last week, the NFL announced the winner of their 2020 Play 60 Super Kit.
For 5 years, we've teamed up with the NFL Play 60 to reveal the lucky football fan who will go to the Super Bowl with VIP access.
All we have is today, so shouldn't we make the best of it?
Quentin doesn't know it yet, but he's about to win the hottest ticket to the biggest game of the year.
Go Hawks!
Unfortunately, it was not me. So to show you why I deserve to win, here is the submission tape I sent that they ultimately rejected and then returned to me with the restraining order. Hi, I'm Brandon, and I want to be this year's NFL Play With Yourself 60 Kid Champion. Why? Because I played with myself at least 60 times. Plus, as you can see, I turned what used to just be a basement where I would hide so my mom didn't know I was whacking off into a workout haven. As you can see, I can literally do more than one pull-up now. You don't get arms like this if you don't play with yourself every day. Play 60. I want to perform my state-of-the-art workout routine at NFL halftime. Nip slips included to my favorite royalty-free, license-cleared, stock YouTube Music library song, Muffin Man. Always remember to stretch, or you could get an injury. I trained 60, just like my favorite football player, Aaron Donald, with this box cutter. And since I don't have any friends, I train against myself. Play 60! And unlike the TB12 method, my Play 60 program isn't filled with lies. My mom says I can't say the Washington Redskins, but she's at her therapist. So Redskins, Redskins, Redskins! Play 60. Play 60. Hey Kamish, if I don't win the NFL's Play With Yourself 60 Kid award, I'm never gonna play with myself for 60 minutes again. And when I die of heart disease and diabetes, that's on you, Roger. That's on you. Play 60! Play 60! Play 60! Play 60! I guess there's always next year to win it all. Chad Johnson, aka Ocho Cinco, for all of you Spanish-speaking accountants out there, is trying out for the XFL. Not as a wide receiver, but as a kicker. Chad Johnson plays a ton of FIFA, plays real soccer, and once beat a horse in a horse race. If anyone can make the transition from receiver to kicker in a lesser football league, it's Chad. And I will have some XFL videos coming up over the next couple weeks, so keep your eye out for those. Now, Larry Fitzgerald announced he will return for the 2020 season in Arizona, despite the fact that he will be 37 when the season starts, and despite having a defense who can't tackle on the other side of the ball. This really disappointed AJ on Twitter, who is devastated Larry didn't retire because he now has to wait until 2021 for Larry to become his favorite XFL kicker. I knew Larry was coming back to the NFL as soon as I saw he could still bend his knee past 90 degrees. Larry had 75 receptions, 4 touchdowns this last season. Fitz is still quite productive. 75 catches gave him more than OBJ, Mike Evans, and Kenny Golladay this last year. All those guys did have over 1,000 receiving yards, but Larry will be a great asset for Kyler Murray to have for at least another season, and Larry said he enjoyed playing football with Kyler so much last year that he wanted to come back for another season. Suck it, Carson Palmer. Thanks for nothing, Kurt Warner. The Cardinals were weirdly the most and least improved team in the NFL last season. Kyler Murray had a solid rookie year, and I think people are generally excited about him and head coach Cliff Kingsbury moving forward in Arizona, but their defense was dead last in points and yards allowed per game under Vance Joseph. Vance was able to mastermind that, even while having NFL sack leader Chandler Jones get 19 sacks. Unless Shaq Barrett finished ahead of him. What was Shaq's total? 19.5, 18.5? And finally, the Pro Football Hall of Fame, in honor of the 100th year of NFL football, honored the league by pissing off Broncos fans and inducting 15 heroes of the game to the Hall. They added former players and coaches and commissioners like Bill Cowher, Jimmy Johnson, Paul Tagliabue, the voice of the NFL, Steve Sable, and players none of us under the age of 100 remember like Duke Slater and Ed Sprinkle. Now, I am sure everyone on that list deserves to be in the Hall, but I'd like to welcome you to Colorado, where today we celebrate a statewide holiday, which is be extremely pissed that legendary linebacker Randy Gradishar didn't get into the Hall of Fame again day. Today we fast until 5:30 p.m. The number 53 is what Randy wore when he played. The fast will be broken though with a ceremonial 2-liter Orange Crush soda. If you don't know, Gradishar was the catalyst behind the Broncos' vaunted Orange Crush defense in the 70s and 80s. He was a 7-time Pro Bowler, Defensive Player of the Year, a tackling machine, and Broncos fans have been pleading for him to get into the Hall for decades now. Check this info provided by Andrew Mason. 10 linebackers in NFL history have 20-plus career interceptions, 10-plus fumble recoveries, and 7-plus Pro Bowl selections. 8 of the 10 are on the NFL 100. 9 of the 10 were already inducted into the Pro Football Hall of Fame within 2 years of eligibility. The one who isn't enshrined? Randy Gradishar. So let me put this in perspective. In 7 seasons, Luke Kuechly led the NFL in tackles with 1,092. Gradishar finished his career with 2,049 tackles in 9 full seasons of play, 10 total. Kuechly started in 118 games. Gradishar in 133, but played in 145. By comparison, that's 9.2 tackles per game for Luke and 14.1 for Randy. A massive snub again for the Broncos linebacker. My question is, why did the Hall settle on 15 special inductees and not 20? With 20, they could have added Gradishar, Art Modell, who owned the Cleveland Browns for 35 years and turned them into a Super Bowl winner by moving them to Baltimore. Drew Pearson, Cowboys wide receiver who was pissed off about not getting in on Twitter.
A pleasure to meet this announcement. And special guest.
Pearson should be in the Hall for his draft pick announcement alone in Philly.
I want to thank the Eagle fans for allowing me to have a career in the NFL. 5-time world champion, Dallas Cowboys, Hall of Fame owner, Jerry Jones, all the Cowboy players that played before me, that played with me, and played after me.
They could have added Chargers coach Don Coryell, who made more innovations to the air game than the Wright brothers, and Tom Flores, who along with Mike Ditka is the only man to win a Super Bowl as a player, assistant coach, and head coach. But no, stop at 15 and just piss off a ton of fans who know their guy should be in the Hall. Thanks for watching another episode of That's Good Sports. Please subscribe here on YouTube. I'm on Twitter at Brandon Perna. If you want to follow me there, it will be very pleasant for you. My tweets will help you get ahead in life. If you're behind in life, follow me on Twitter to get ahead. That's not a guarantee.